All right, welcome to paradise. So before we even hop on our camera, there's a few things we're gonna do, and that's gonna be turn on all of these lights, open all the blinds and curtains, and then just make sure the place looks clean, and I'll give some tips along the way. First objective is to get an idea of our layout. Wow, look how much brighter it is in here. Now, as a real estate photographer, our goal is to make sure that the interior matches the exterior. We're gonna do our best, and there's two methods. I prefer one method over the other. One, flash photography. I think it's a bit more time consuming, but for more professional results, it's something you can do if you're okay with Photoshop blending. On the other end, I prefer HDR bracketing. And I find it's gonna be the most consistent looking across the board, and it's gonna require the least amount of time in post-production. I'm not kidding when I'm saying I've shot over 100 homes. Whenever I first started real estate photography, it was my bread and butter. Now it's just an easy way to make money on the side. Whether you've been doing this for years or you just started, I think that you can pick up a few tips or maybe learn a whole new process. Let's get started with what gear we're gonna use. First up, the tripod, the most essential part. This is how you make time be on your side. I look for something that's sturdy, lightweight, and has an adjustable column. Also, you wanna make sure you have a really good ball head. Next up, the camera. When it comes to the camera, really all you're looking for is something capable of bracketing. I'll show you what that means later. Bracketing is in most, if not all, DSLR mirrorless cameras. The main thing I look for, the flip screen. And now the lens, where perspective is everything. There's two types of cameras, full frame and crop sensor. If you're on a full frame camera, you're gonna have a wider shot. So a 16 to 35 is awesome. If you're on a crop sensor, you're gonna need something even wider, and I would suggest a 10 to 18. Time to go above and beyond with the drone. When it comes to a drone, really, you can just use anything. Realtors are just happy to have the perspective. I personally use the Mavic Air 2, and this is my favorite drone I've had so far, but I am looking into the Air 2S for larger sensor and maybe cleaner shadows. The smart controller, I know you all have debated it. I would say it's definitely worth it. It's nice to have a bigger, brighter display, and you don't have to worry about phone calls. Oh wait, I'm getting something. Always bring extra batteries. It's all in the little things. You're gonna need these no matter what. Don't forget them. I've definitely done it before. We all make mistakes, but don't just bring one. Bring two, if not three of these. And my latest addition, the top handle. I really find it makes me much, much quicker because I can pick up my tripod with ease. Now, once you've got your camera on your tripod, go ahead and start with these settings. We're gonna adjust them as we go, but these are kind of the baseline of how I take every photo. For ISO, I found that 320 is kind of that sweet spot. You don't want it too low or your shadows won't have too much detail, and you obviously don't want it too high or your highlights are gonna be kind of blown. So I found that 320 is that sweet spot. And to have everything in detail, I try to shoot at about an f8. Sometimes an f7, sometimes an f9, but I find, again, f8's that sweet spot. And I pretty much leave those two the exact same. The only thing I change is shutter speed. We're on a tripod, time is infinite, and we can really go as long as we want. But this is how you take a single photo, which is not gonna be the most dynamic photo. When it comes to real estate photography, dynamic range is crucial. And what dynamic range is the detail in the darkest parts, in the shadows, and in the highlights. With HDR bracketing, we can actually expand that dynamic range by 4 or even more stops. And this is how we're gonna do it. I am on a Canon camera, but it's gonna be kind of similar for many other cameras. I go to this menu. This is what you used to see on DSLRs, but for mirrorless cameras, you typically just see the live view. Now I go ahead and hit Q, which is gonna let me change my settings. And I just simply click on the exposure. Here I use my shutter to simply spread it out. What it's doing is marking out preset exposures. So this is your main photo in the middle. This is 2 stops under, and this is 4 stops under, vice versa. By default, it's usually gonna be about 3 of these. And you can go into your settings and actually change this. Right here on my Canon, it's the 6th menu, 1st page, and it's number of bracketed shots. You can take 3, 5, or 7. I would never really do 2, but I find that 5 is again that sweet spot. Now, whenever we go to take our photo, we can actually see that it's gonna take 5 photos, and each of them are at different exposures. We're gonna combine these in post, and we're gonna get a very dynamic picture. We're gonna go ahead and format our card like we do with every shoot. I just focus on the main part. We're at an f8, so most of everything's gonna be in focus. You can go higher if you want, but you will be taking longer photos. Whenever I choose my focus, it's also giving me a meter reading down here, and that determines how dark or bright I want it. I can see that there's 5 different levels, and I just make sure that middle one is right in the center. And then I make sure I have a 2-second timer on. That's in your drive mode. You can do 10 seconds, which I find is useful for some photos when you need to run out of the way. Most of the time, 2 seconds is all I really have time for because we want to be efficient. Now that you know how to take these photos, let's go ahead and go around the house and see exactly my philosophy for shooting real estate photography. The most important part, honestly, is finding a good spot to hide my camera. This will do.
I've heard you got some tips. Can you elaborate on them?
Yeah, man. So I just got like 4 simple tips. Whenever you want to shoot, obviously make sure you have good weather. Oh, I should have probably read that. That's the fan. We don't want that moving. I also like to see if it's east or west facing. And that's because I want most of the light on the front of the house, unless obviously the back looks better. Nope, nope, nope. These will look cool. I'm jealous of these. These look real nice. Oh, I think it stays. No, that one stays. That one stays. Let there be light. And then another tip I would say, number 2 is efficiency is key. I like to personally play some music. I find it just makes everything go a little faster. Like I honestly pull up jazz and I'm playing it the whole time. I don't even honestly ask anymore if the client's okay with it because I just think having that keeps my momentum going. All right, this place honestly looks pretty clean so far. I'm just gonna kind of hide some of the little things. Oh, that's not the cabinet. Don't need to see that. Along with efficiency, I would say don't really move your tripod legs much. I'm gonna keep my legs the exact same height the whole time I'm shooting this house because I have a center column and only adjusting that to about counter height or slightly above is gonna keep me the most efficient. Perfect. And with all these different colors, like tungsten and daylight, editing's a bit of a challenge, but in the next video, I'll really be able to show you how to make stuff not show up quite as much. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Paradise is Right. What the heck is this? Whoever thought that the pink was a good idea was wrong. Number 3 would definitely be more the merrier. They actually increased the photos from 25 to now 40 for the MLS. And so I pretty much take like every single corner shot and even some details here and there. I've never seen a plunger with 2 handles. What the hell? What? Really get up in there.
Yeah, but what about that 4th one?
Well, this is actually my little secret. I like to always get transition shots. I find the realtors love it. Like I'll just basically show right in between a wall because then the potential buyer can actually see exactly how the house is laid out. Along with that, I try to shoot the house forward to back, just so it's kind of like a story. All right, I think we're ready. I'm gonna get my settings right. F8, ISO 320, just double checking. Play with the shutter speed. You can make your white balance whatever you want. I'm just gonna do like 4200. We shoot in RAW. If you shoot in JPEG, click off this video. I'm just kidding. I appreciate you. You're learning something new. I start off with the foyer, if you will, pretty wide on this one to maybe show off some of the different rooms going on. And the key for all real estate shots, make sure your verticals are indeed vertical. You don't want to be tilted down or tilted up, just right. And if it's not perfect, you can always fix that in post, which I'll be showing in the editing video. 2-second timer. Don't turn off your camera. If you turn off your camera, you're turning off your bracketing. The whole time, leave it going. You brought extra batteries. You're gonna be A-okay. And just like this, I'm gonna take my first photo. Simple enough. Let's move on. This is one of those transition shots. It doesn't show too much, but the hallway is very important. Very dark in here, so unfortunately, fifth photo, 5 seconds. I made sure to bring my comfortable shoes. Might even try the side angle here too. More the merrier. I honestly send all the photos to the realtor. They think I'm giving them freebies, but really I'm just too lazy to choose which ones I want to send. Obviously, if they're really bad, I'm kicking them out. Now, you want to be as far back as possible, but at the same time, to not get the door in the shot. Right now I have 4 walls in the photo. All you really need is 3 photos to have a very dynamic shot. If you only have 2 walls, it just doesn't look nearly as good. I noticed the blinds were a little messed up, so we're just gonna kind of restart those. They were stuck to the inside of the window. There we are. Gotta redo it. I'm noticing 2 things now that I'm becoming a perfectionist. 1, I'm having a shadow of my camera, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that light off. 2, I have my door in my shot, so I always just kind of push up against it and go ahead and take the photo. 25 seconds. Our first bathroom. This is why you need a wide lens. Always make sure you close the lid. Sometimes it's good to get a second option. That's what I like to call the shot. Get up in there. It's the perspective everyone needs. I don't know if I actually keep that in there. Sometimes I'll just say to entertain me while I edit.
Yeah.
Always keep your legs nice and tight. That way they don't fall down on you. I'm gonna make this shot feel as grand as possible because typically the realtors are gonna put this as one of the first photos. Sometimes I even back up and show the surrounding walls. Subframing. Real estate's not the most artistic of photography. You can always have a little fun with it. Now for these shots, I really try not to show much of this wall. I just want it there for the depth. I have honestly about 2/3 or 3/4 of my frame showing the rest of the room. Pretty much only shoot from corners because it makes it the largest. Before I even had a flip screen, these shots were nearly impossible to do. They were guessing. And this is where you can have a little bit of fun. If you see a really deep looking shot, go ahead, zoom in on your lens a little bit, and go ahead and get that. It's more of a detail shot if the realtor needs it. It's just something you can be a little more proud of instead of just documenting. I think this is gonna be the money shot. Watch out for your shadows. Hug them walls. I like to show some of the depth in the foreground with this counter. Just gonna raise it a hair. Kitchen shots, it's very important to show appliances, but I'm sure y'all already knew that. Now, whenever you do videography, you kind of want to shoot it multiple times a day so you can get the best light. But we're just doing photography in this episode. It does look like I see my own shadow, so I'm gonna go ahead, make it a 10-second. Get my focus, run the. It's supposed to be shooting. And show some of the living room transitioning. Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot of depth. That depth though. I always forget to change the timer to be off. Then I go to a portrait shoot, and here I am waiting 10 seconds. More than merrier. You know what? I can just get a shot from back here. A lot of times if I can in the kitchen, I try to go parallel with things. It just looks very visually pleasing. I left the 10-second timer on. Again, what happened to efficiency was key. Again, some nice flat shots. Model a lot of my photography in real estate off of renders. like, you know, fake stuff that just looks so good because they can make it perfect. Now we're gonna transition into this laundry room. I'm gonna get a little bit of the counter still in there. Lower it. Again, have not changed my legs. It definitely helps to be skinny. Could you actually pull on this door? I try to make sure the door is parallel so it takes up the least amount of room. And all right, a little more. Perfect, perfect. So it really only takes up a fraction of the shot.
I need a guy recording me recording me
That
talking.
would be hilarious. One day, man. One day. Turn around. Don't let them see this. That's where people hide their stuff. You ever been in the South? No one parks in the garage. Again, hugs and walls. Oh, looks so good. A little more flat like this. Oh, money. Time for that beautiful, massive. This is the darkest room in the house, so we're gonna be waiting like 45 minutes on these. Again, 3 walls if you can. Perfectly in line with the camera so they take up the least amount of space. This is one of those shots you could compromise and bring the aperture down to let more light in so you don't have to wait as long, but I'm just gonna wait because I want a crisp image. 6 seconds, not too bad. I remember whenever I was just shooting on a kit lens, everyone would say, can you just get a little bit wider? No, I can't. Also, you don't need an f2 lens. You could really have like an f7 because we're not going any lower than the f7. That's only important for video. Calm it down a little bit and show off this beautiful, beautiful bathroom. I'm not gonna lie though, I am jealous of that jacuzzi. Probably don't have to say this, but beware of reflections. Last thing you want to do is edit yourself out of all the mirrors, especially if they distort you. So we're in a pickle here. There's a mirror right there. Now, this tripod is special. My legs, I'll be adjusting the whole tripod. But with this Manfrotto element, at least this carbon fiber one, I can actually take off the center column. Did you notice it doesn't drop below? But what I can do is, it's such a baby tripod. 10 seconds. I have to switch that flip screen. Talk about counter height. I like options. All right, and for the MLS, like I was saying, you can do up to 40 photos now. I've got 250 photos. Divide that by 5, I've got 50. I haven't even shot outside, but that's next. Now that we're outside, we're definitely gonna raise our tripod as high as it can get. It's nice to shoot closer to sunset because you have all these nice long shadows. Now those are gonna look pretty good in these photos, but they're gonna look great in the drone shots. With that being said though, watch your shadows. At this point, I even like to bring my aperture up to f11. And here's another little trick. If you can't actually see the roof, you can always tilt up and then you can correct it in post. It will zoom in quite a bit, but that's a little trick, especially for really tall stuff. There's 8 different photos you're gonna be taking. That's gonna be all the sides and then the corners. If it's too tight on a side, it's really okay. That's where the drone comes into play. Now this is definitely when you need an HDR because since the sun's gotten so low, this side's pretty dark and this is pretty bright. Photos are so much faster outside, that's why I shoot a blast. I usually like to take one at the end of the driveway, and then we'll get one across the street. I'm actually hiding the sun behind the tree. Don't want to get a lens flare. This lens is notorious for it. It looks beautiful, but sometimes I just don't want it. Across the street shot. Again, watch your reflections. I have a bright yellow shirt on and I can see it. I zoom in on this one. Having a light tripod makes this so much easier. Investing in a good tripod is honestly more important than your camera. I try to get some foreground if I can, drop it a little bit here. Just changing shutter speed. It's really nice only having to deal with one control. Hopefully the neighbors don't mind this. Now you are gonna have to worry about ghosting with that flag in post, so if you can get it somewhat the same, that's best. It didn't look like it moved that much on that. I do remember them saying they didn't want to see those sandbags. I forgot about those. I see those clear as day. So what I'm gonna actually do We're gonna take this plan. You're gonna have to do this in many different houses, whether it's inside or outside. You're going to have to use perspective to your advantage and hide stuff. I use lampshades to hide family pictures all the time. We will have to worry about our shadows. So we will make this a 10-second exposure and run the hell out of the way. I'm gonna have to get creative here. I see that the fence is gonna cover up most of it. So if I get low, I will do my best. I'll make sure it isn't the main focus. I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit here because my shadow is casting. That's A-okay. You can't even tell they're sandbags. I'm gonna get a wider one and then I'll get a closer one. Oh! Don't try this at home. I'm gonna keep this one nice and centered. Symmetry is nice. One more idea I had. We'll get one shot inside and open the doors. Transitions. People think transitions are only for videos. They are wrong. This is why we need another guy. Your nuts are gonna be gone, bro.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it looks like only these open. I'm making flat. I'm actually gonna get a little further back, maybe use a 35. You'll see that it's closer. If we shoot on a wide angle, it's gonna seem far away. Maybe get a little further back. I know it sounds crazy. Again, this is a little more of an artsy shot, but if you're taking a ton of photos, they don't mind you having a little bit of fun. That's what it's all about. I'm just gonna wait for some of these cars. Go 2 seconds. And that's a big thing to realize if you have cars coming. Timing is key. We're gonna get one more outside. It's not super still. If you came out here in the morning, you definitely get a better reflection. Again, I'm gonna try to show off some of the house as well. But I have to be wary of my reflection. I'm gonna be okay with a little bit. I might be able to Photoshop some out. Yeah, I can definitely Photoshop out my camera. Myself, not as much. So we're gonna do a 10-second timer, walk away. Push your camera a little bit, make sure it's not gonna fall. Hey, come back here! Well, at least he left me the SD card. I guess I don't need the camera anymore because it's time to fly the drone. Park away from the house. We will see it for those wider shots, but it'll make it much easier for all the others. I actually shoot bracketed. I already have it set up. You just simply click over here and go from single to this AEB. I'm gonna back up, get some of these wider shots, and then of course we'll get out of the way. The main shot I always make sure to get is of course the surrounding area and this top down. The top down is honestly the coolest shot. It shows the exact layout of the house. And again, we are in the frame, but I can easily Photoshop us out. But let's do the easiest thing. Let's just back up. For the ultra wide shots, there's nothing really you can do unless you hide behind stuff. Again, play with perspective. We'll get one really far away. Make sure you always have line of sight with your drone. And that's how you shoot real estate photography. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you want to see the edits, it'll be coming soon. Hope to see you in the next one. If you haven't already, subscribe. Peace!
Is it recording?
I think.
What are the tips?
What are the tips, bro?